Yo, what's good? This your boy TK of the Hustle Laughter Life podcast. Every week, every Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 at the Fishbowl Radio Network. You got a small business, need advice, thinking about starting that side hustle, or maybe you're just trying to figure out how to live your best life despite all things. Well, I'm here to talk to you on the Hustle Laughter Life podcast so we can help you out with that. Every week, we'll be interviewing business owners, entrepreneurs, people with a side hustle, just trying to figure out a way to make that extra income, and just figuring out a way to live the best life despite all things. So tune in every Friday from 10 to 11 on the Fishbowl Radio Network. Jump in. We are back. Episode number 3. Hustle Laughter Life, the podcast. Today's guest, long friend, good friend, flag football rival, and drinking buddy.
True.
My buddy, John Alex Bailey, a.k.a. Jax.
True.
Jax, what's good, brother?
Man, just trying to keep up with you, man, out in the world. Just working and carrying on, So
I'm moving slow, brother. Moving slow.
Well,
like in sports, like when they go from like rookie to NFL.
Yep.
And it's like the moment the game slows down, you figure it out. The game ain't slowed down yet.
No, not yet.
So I'm just moving, man.
Man,
moving.
I'm not sure it ever slows down.
I know, right? All right, so I brought Jax on today because Jax is a sales professional, and you work at Optics, right?
I do. Optus, yeah.
Optics, okay. So I brought him in because, a lot of people that I meet from branding standpoint, a lot of clients I meet and just friends I meet who have their own businesses, I don't really think they really get the importance of like sales and marketing in the business. I think they know they have to do it, but I don't think they get like, strategies, what's the best way to go about doing it. So I wanted to bring you on today so we could talk a little bit about that and how people can get better at it. Hey, I might get some tips today because I'm always going to learn something new. But for the most part, I want people to get a better understanding of marketing. So first off, Jax, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Gosh, I went to college and got a degree in communications and marketing. Okay. I graduated in 2000, and listen, getting a job out in the market was very, very difficult. I couldn't find one. Right. I took all kinds of different odd jobs just trying to get my foot in a door somewhere. And I finally realized that, look, your first job, you're not going to get the exact job that you want. You just, again, getting your foot in the door. So I took a mailroom job in an industry that I knew I wanted to be in healthcare. There was a particular, it's a group of clinics basically throughout the entire nation, and they had a mailroom opportunity. And I was like, look, I know the sales team is based out of there. I know I want to be in sales. I know healthcare is a great industry to be in. So I'm going to take that job. I'm going to do everything I can to get to know the sales team and see if I might be able to squeeze myself in there. Okay. So I took that job. I think every single day when I delivered the mail over to the sales team, I was always introducing myself, just kind of getting to know those guys. And 6 months later, they hired me into a sales role. So from there, everything just kind of took off. It was really cool. So that's kind of how my career got started and got going, and never looked back after that.
Okay, so you're primarily in the healthcare industry now?
Still in the healthcare industry. What we do, what Optus does, is we're basically a software company. Okay. We administer family leave and also ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act. It's a software that helps people administer that. So that's what we do.
So as far as healthcare, why specifically did you want to get in the healthcare industry?
It's never going away, man.
Right,
and you look at the baby boomers, that like my father, he's now in his 70, 73. Okay. It's never going away. It's always going to be something there. That, like, for instance, the tech boom, that hit. It was a big deal. It was really, really .com. Lasted for a little bit, but it wasn't able to sustain. Healthcare sustains. It's always going to be there. And those baby boomers are going to need medical attention and medical care. Right. And so I knew that was something that I wanted to do. And also, financially, there's money to be made in the healthcare industry. So I figured that was probably a decent jump for me to try to see what I can do.
Cool. So as far as Optics, okay, so you guys in the healthcare industry and you provide software to kind of help people. For like sick leave, that's what you said?
Yeah, so FMLA and like ADA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act. Right. There's certain national, federal, jurisdictional needs that go in with that. There's different laws you got to pay attention to. California has different laws than Texas. Right. Texas has different laws than New York, and so on. Every state is completely different. So what this software does is it helps them administer those leaves from start to finish, make sure you're following all the different laws. I mean, for instance, if you mess up on one situation, you could get in trouble and you could be fined up to $150,000. So, and here's the issue with it also. You know, you get fined once, and then they're going to go back 5 years and they're going to try to find something else also. So it's just something you want to kind of avoid. The interesting niche in our industry is that most of this stuff is done through Excel spreadsheets, regardless of the size of the company.
Okay.
It's done through Excel spreadsheets and Microsoft Outlook. And now that the penalties are becoming bigger and there's more things to pay attention to with the laws,
okay,
it just makes more sense to have a software that kind of helps you administer that from beginning to end. And that's where we come in. So it's a need, and what's really cool is it's a need that a lot of people don't realize is quite there yet. So it's a matter of kind of getting the word out, marketing,
right,
and getting out and selling it.
Okay, cool. So what's your exact role? What's your exact position at Optics?
I'm the director of sales and marketing. So I handle national sales for the United States.
Okay,
It can be a little overwhelming at times, but when you have a really good team, it works.
Okay, cool. So speaking of team, we'll segue. I might have to jump around questions depending on how you answer, but how do you go about building a strong sales team?
You know, I think the role that I'm in right now, you try to look for past experience.
Okay.
You know, do you have experience in sales? Have you had success in sales? But in some positions, you're not able to necessarily do that. So really, you try to find a hustler.
Right.
Sales can be a beating. You know, I mean, it's what have you done for me lately? And also, you really got to be able to handle rejection. It's not you personally that they're rejecting,
right?
But, they just maybe not want the product you need. So that can be a beatdown, and there's certain personalities that handle that a lot better than others, right? So you need somebody. I like to say a lot of confidence. Right. Not any arrogance, though, because no one really wants to deal with arrogance, and there's a big difference there.
Well, what do you think is one of the differences?
Arrogance, I think.
In regards to sales,
Yeah. I think arrogance comes across in a way where you walk in the room and you know everything. And really, if you're a true salesperson, you're going to walk into a room and you're trying to find out what their needs are, what their pain points are.
Right.
So you don't know everything. You don't know all that. And it really does come across in the way that you talk to people. So you want to have somebody with confidence, but you don't want somebody that comes in and just thinks they know everything. I've never seen an arrogant person be a very good salesperson.
Yeah, I used to be kind of reserved about sales.
Yeah.
And not from, as a creative, right? It was kind of like, okay, well, when I talk to people, I never want to come off as if I'm trying to make you take something from me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so in the beginning stage of me, like being self-employed, you're talking to people, and it's kind of like, how do you understand the segue? Like when you meet kind of complete strangers, like how do you segue into, well, this is what I do and this is how I can help you. Yeah. And I think that's kind of a place where people are already comfortable doing. Mm-hmm. So for you, how do you go about figuring out how to segue? Let's say you meet a complete stranger, you're networking. How do you segue? Because I know there's like your targeting market. We'll get into that. Yeah. But like you meet strangers, how do you segue into like just introducing to sales?
Man, you got 5 minutes. I mean, really, if you're, we call it your elevator pitch.
I don't know about that.
So you got 5 minutes to garner interest or not.
Right.
And so really you figure out what your main points are that need to get across, what you're selling, the benefits to that, and you're really just trying to push that in the next 5 minutes to garner some interest. Once you get that meeting, that things kind of change at that point, right? I think that you go into a meeting not fully knowing who they are or really exactly what it is that they need. That's why I think you go in and people think sales is all, this is what we offer, this is what we do. You know, do you want it or not? No, it's not like that. I think you go in there and first and foremost you ask a lot of questions.
Right.
Again, we kind of alluded to it earlier. What are your pain points? What exactly are you looking for? What are you not getting right now that you think that you should be getting or want to get?
Right.
And then what you do is you take all this information and you tie it into your product, and then you try to tell them, okay, well, I see your pain point is X, Y, and Z, and guess what? I have a solution for X, Y, and Z, and I can take that pain away for you. So that's really kind of how you get the segue started. You get the conversation going. But I think a lot of unsuccessful salespeople lose the point of it's not so much you going in there and pounding. It's more you going in there asking questions and finding out more. You're courting, right? You're courting a relationship here. So you want to find out what those needs are. And then you go from there. And then you kind of have a roadmap to how this sale is going to be done or not. Because, I could have an idea of what I think your pain points are.
Right.
Like, oh, well, I think that maybe they're working off the spreadsheets or Outlook calendar, and I just know that this software is better. But I don't know that. Maybe they have a different method of doing it. So, so yeah, you just ask a lot of questions and you listen. And I think the best salespeople will do that. They will listen and they will adapt their presentation to it.
Okay. Presentation, okay, and listening. So I meet a lot of clients, and I always try to say that, and I think, Jack, I did a logo for you a while back, and so it's kind of the same premise. Yeah. You know what you want as a client. Mm-hmm. I know what I think is best for you just from a experience standpoint and work with other people. So my main job, just as a designer, is like I have to mesh those things together and understand, like you said, here's your pain points, here's your goals you're trying to establish, and how do we bring that together so there's like a final product that everybody's happy with.
Yep.
So let me ask you this: how do you go about? I was about to say. So I have a problem personally with follow-up.
Okay.
I do it.
Huge. It's huge.
It's a huge thing. So how do you remember to go about staying on top of follow-up?
So I have a personal saying for myself, and persistence without annoyance. Okay. You want to stay persistent with them, but you don't want to annoy anybody. And there's a pretty good fine line there too. And part of that's going to be, between your 5-minute elevator pitch and whatever presentation you're able to do, you're typically going to be able to figure out what type of person this is, right? And I just mean that from the standpoint of, are they just this is black and white, I need to hear the facts and I'm going to go from there, or is it somebody that just wants to they want to be courted, they want to be taught, so you're going to have to figure that out. But from the follow-up standpoint, you'll know that a person that is just A-type, black and white, give me the facts on the ground, and then we can go from there. They are not going to be someone that's going to respond well to an email or a phone call every single day. So you're going to have to adapt your strategy to knowing your client and knowing who they are and what type of follow-up they want. But you're right. The follow-up is the most important thing. So you need to understand what's appropriate, how soon, how often. Typically if you walking out of a meeting what your deliverables are.
Right.
I told John Doe that I'm going to supply pricing, workflows, spreadsheets, whatever it is they needed. Typically it's kind of hard to get that out same day, but you want to get that out the next day. You know? So, but that's your beginning to your follow-up. So, I think in that email also, or follow-up by a phone, however it might be, I think some people kind of forget to ask for the business. And I think it's really important. So, in your follow-up, hey, here's everything that you needed. I've outlined all the information you want. And listen, we're a good fit for you. We want this business. What can we do to get it? And I think that's a good start. That's a good thing. Now they know that you're a serious player and you want the business and you're going to be attentive to that. So yeah, follow-up is huge. And you see, and just because they don't respond to you the first few times does not mean they're not interested. It just means
some people might be busy.
Yeah, you're just maybe not number one priority on our list of fires for the day. Right. So you just got to be attentive to that as well. So just know the person, understand what's appropriate on the follow-up. Typically what I'll do is I will follow up the next day, run through those things that we just talked about. And then, depending on the urgency of the need, once a week a follow-up or every couple of days a follow-up. Again, every situation's a little different and you have to be attentive to that. Okay.
So you've closed the business now at this point. Let's say you've closed the business. You've done your follow-up steps. You landed the business. Hey, you're feeling good. You ring the bell.
Yeah, right.
You ring the bell.
Ring the bell. Yeah.
How do you follow up after you close the sale? I'm saying you've already delivered the product or whatever. So how do you stay on top of following up afterwards? Is it seasonal? Is it you have a schedule skit? How do you go about remembering follow up after you've closed the business?
So typically for us, what we do is we will close the business and then I will do a warm handoff what I call it, to an implementation manager or an account manager, and then from that point, that person will take over the implementation part of it. As a salesperson, my goal is to go out there and sell. I can't really get too bogged down in the implementation and maintaining of that relationship. Now, good salespeople will maintain that relationship. They don't just, warm-hand it off and then run away and you never hear from them again, because renewals are a real thing. Right. And also you're building that relationship, and the relationships are a huge thing. Okay. For instance, I may make a sale to company A, in this risk management department or whatever. And if I just hand it off and run away, I'm not building that relationship. So when this risk manager goes to a different company, if you have that relationship, you usually have an open door to go have that conversation and see what they're doing there. It goes to the whole thing of, some people get so focused on this is the person that I need to sell that they forget about everybody else in the room. Right. And you want to be nice, kind, and fair to everybody in that room, because everyone's just as important. And when I first started out with that job I was talking about, breaking into the industry, the way that they did sales was, they basically said, hey, here's a group of accounts that we're already allowed to do business in. You go in and you build the business inside. So you go to each individual person and you're asking them for the business every day. It's on a referral basis. I have a referral for this. I'm going to refer it over to you guys. I personally, and this is just my personality, I want to be nice to everybody. I want to be nice to the person. I want to be nice to the doorkeeper, who's the receptionist, right? Gatekeeper. Yeah, if you're going to buy donuts for everyone. Right? Keep them happy. And the assistants and all that, because the assistant is soon enough going to be in that role anyway. Promotions and so on, people leave and everything else. But I think, some shortfalls on, again, this is not cold calling or anything else. This is you're given an account and you have to go in and get these referrals. People just think, I'm going to focus on this one. Be nice to everybody. Be kind to everybody. So it sounds simple, and it really sounds like, that's just common sense. But I think sometimes it gets lost in it because people get busy. You've got multiple accounts to get to, but build a relationship with everybody you possibly can. Relationships, a relationship may not sell the deal, but it will get you in the door, and that is one of the most important things. Because once you're in the door, now you can preach all your stuff, and you can try to garner the interest and get stuff going from there. Okay, I hope I answered your question.
No, that was perfect. That was great. That was great. You was talking. I was thinking about. So I heard this Ali quote. I read it actually a couple of weeks ago, but I'd heard it before, and he was saying like he judged people by if they go out to eat and how they treat the waiter. Right. Because if they'll treat the waiter like a bad kind of a crappy way, then it's like, well, if I was the waiter, you treat me the same way. So it puts in perspective like who you're hanging around, and like I say, if you don't treat the receptionist well, think about it. Yeah. She has the guy, the woman's schedule and calendar. Like, well, you seem kind of nice. I can fit you in right here, but you only got 10 minutes. And then the elevator pitch key in, but if you're mean to her, she's like, I don't like that guy. He's a jerk. Yeah. Or she's a jerk. She won't put you in, and then you're asked out.
I'm even going to take it to a next level on that. Okay, you don't know who that person is. Right. They could be filling a role that they don't typically do. And also, I saw a competitor one time that was just a total jerk to the receptionist in every single way. And after a few weeks, we didn't find that competitor in the office anymore, and it turned out the receptionist was the CEO's niece. Wow. So it's just, again, just be kind, man. It's what we preach with the world anyway, right? Be kind to everybody, So, and it's weird that we have to say that, but we do.
Be kind. Well, we're all about that on Hustle After Life, Fact. You know what I'm saying? Be in a good place, and living your best life despite all things. Yeah. So, Jack, how long have you been in sales?
Oh my gosh. So I have officially been doing sales for. This is going to date me. All right. Okay. About 16 years. Now, I did, and this is one bit of advice I would give to any career salesperson. Man, if you have an opportunity to go and do an operations role for a little bit, and get that experience, it is life-changing.
Okay. Why so?
from a salesperson, your goal is just to get the business at whatever cost.
Right.
Just get it. Obviously you're not lying or anything, but you're saying, hey,
Well, you hope people not lying.
Yeah. You hope people aren't lying. You find out pretty quick if they are. But that'll spoil your name pretty quick too.
Yeah.
You want to make promises that you can't deliver on.
Right.
It'll get around. Every industry is small in its own way.
Right.
Being in I was in the workers' comp industry for many years. Workers' comp is huge. I mean, it's the national conference in Las Vegas is just the size of probably 15 football fields. It's just thousands and thousands of people.
Right.
It is the smallest industry you've ever met. Everyone talks to everyone. So if you're a person that makes promises you can't deliver on, everyone's going to find out about it. Everyone's going to know about it, and you're going to have that reputation. So always be mindful of that. But part of it, if going into the operations side for a little bit, and sometimes this is not possible, but when you get the chance to do it, you really learn from an operations side what a better way for the salesperson to set the table for that warm handoff that we were talking about, right? So typically a salesperson will be like, "It's done, hurrah! Go, move on," and you're not really worried about setting it up for success, and you can set it up for success in how you sell it, and the things that you're promising, the things that you can deliver, and all these things. I think when I went into operations and I dealt with more salespeople on that realm, I realized I saw a lot of the shortcomings I had on the sales role in setting the table and getting it over to operations. So, I know it's not possible for people to sometimes make that switch and do it, but going into operations was a big boost for me in making me a better salesperson at the end of the day, for sure.
Cool.
Understanding their role. I mean, they work hard, you're making the promises and they deliver that. Right. So when you're on the side of the delivering,
it's like when you get somebody a referral. If I give you this referral, if I send you some work, they looking at me until you screw up. They're really gonna look at me like, "Hey, TK, you send me this guy," and he, yeah.
You are the face of the company too.
Right.
I mean, you are the one going out there, so you just your reputation is everything.
Okay. How much is sport? I say sports. I'm going on my question. How much is sales like sports for you? And we used to play flag football against each other, so there's a competitive nature. So how much is it like sports?
I think every good salesperson is very competitive.
Right.
Where you draw that competition from is completely up to you.
Right.
If you have a lot of sales companions in your company, maybe you're competing with them against sales. If you're in a smaller company and maybe there's not as many salesperson, maybe you're the only salesperson.
Right.
Maybe you draw your competition, your competition from the competition.
Right.
Right. I am still friends with a lot of my competitors. So you always know what they're doing and what's going on. It's funny, and I'm going to take a quick sidestep. Sorry, I'll hit bunny trails everywhere. But the current role I'm in right now, the parent company actually was one of my competitors for years and years and years in the pre-authorization, bill review, medical ancillary services. And when this job that I'm currently in popped up, they called me and said, "Hey, we've been competing against you for a really long time. We know your reputation. We know how you work.
Right.
So be nice to the competitors too, because you never know who you might be working for one day." But so sports-wise, I think if you want to make that comparison, the best way to do it is just through competition and competing against the people around you. I want more sales than my competitors getting. I want more sales than the guy next to me is getting. Man, that's it.
So from sales, so from that standpoint, excuse me. So from that standpoint, with sales, how is it a team thing? Well, how do you think it's a team thing?
Well, like a locker room, right?
Yeah.
It's really uncomfortable, but it's something that you necessarily have to do. And when you talk about the elevator pitches or how I'm presenting my product to people, you collaborate with your teammates. Okay, and you do the elevator pitches in front of them, and you practice these things with them. And I think together a good team will you can take the criticism of where your shortcomings are in your 5-minute pitch or whatever. I think together you can make each other stronger. And it's just your sales techniques. Like, I know that you should be doing this rather than doing this. And I have found success here before in the past. Maybe it's something you could try with this. We kind of alluded to, the follow-up. And, okay, so I've followed up with this client 4 times, just not getting anywhere. I'm not having any response. But I know my coworker's been, working in this industry for a real long time doing sales. Hey, what have you done when you've encountered these problems? You should be able to lean on your teammates to come up with different solutions and different angles that maybe you haven't thought of.
Right.
So that's where they come in. I mean, it's the same thing with sports, right? I was hearing Michael Irvin talk the other day of like, he would collaborate with Dion, and he'd be like, hey, you've seen my route. You see what I do. What am I doing that could make me better as a defensive person trying to defend me? And he could tell him right there. And Dion, vice versa. What can I do to help defend somebody, a Hall of Famer, right? So it's the same thing. It's different goals, different strategies, but you collaborate with your teammates. Yeah, it's important.
So what if you're like a solo sales guy? You're like one-man team. You represent a company. Let's say you're a small business or whatever. You're the salesperson, or you're just the owner. How do you go about getting sales advice at that point?
So, great question. All right, and this is why. When I broke into the industry, I had mentors. Right. And I figured out who those mentors were, and they took enough interest in me to want to help. Guys like Vance Root, guys like Frank Vidrick, guys like Bobby Waters, guys like Kent Morgan. I can go on and on and on about a few people that have really kind of put me under their wing and guided me through different situations. So I would say if you are in that situation, if you are a young salesperson, find somebody that you respect, that the industry respects, and go to them for advice, if they want to. Some people just don't want to deal with it. And some people, I think what you would find are the majority of people, if they have knowledge and wisdom to pass down, it feels good to pass that down. And they want to see people succeed as well. So go find a mentor, use them as a resource, bounce stuff off them, take their advice. The mentor is the most important thing. And I'll still reach out to those guys to this day. They have been very important people in my growth.
Okay. So let's say you don't have any mentors, or you don't have access to mentors. If you had to go on YouTube and buy some books or whatever.
Sure.
Well, we'll stick to YouTube first, because I'm going to say books for later on in the conversation.
All right.
But like mentors, who would you YouTube and watch and say, hey, this is a good guy to watch, for whatever reason, or 1 or 2 people, or guys or girls?
It's tough. I mean, look, I try to stay away from some of that stuff on the YouTube and I'm talking about.
And let me iterate, not the motivational speaker type.
Okay, because you see some of that stuff and you're just I'm gonna have actual. So like example, I listen to Jim. I started listening to Jim Rohn a while back. And and he makes a lot of. It's not necessarily about sales. He talks about more like better processes and what you're doing, and like how letting go sometimes, when to let go, importance of things. So for you, who are some guys you would kind of recommend based off of that now? Yeah, I have been lucky to have enough mentors that I really have, that have been very specific to my industry.
Okay.
That I really haven't had to lean too much on that. My deal has always been go to the people that are in my trenches and get advice from them. Because every industry is different. Every strategy is different. What they might be preaching online as okay, these are like, it's like, I'm a baseball guy. These are the fundamentals of hitting. Your knuckles, your hips, your head, your eye. All this stuff, right? Well, yeah, those are great fundamentals, and those do work in some situations, but this may not work in my situation. So what I want to do first and foremost is I want to seek out and find. LinkedIn is a great place. Okay. So, you said, well, maybe I don't know anybody, or maybe I don't have those resources at the office. What I would say is, get on LinkedIn. Geographically find your area. Find people that have similar roles that have been doing it for many, many years. Reach out to those people. I'm telling you, you would be shocked and surprised that, you're not trying to sell them. You're just
Right.
coming to them for their wisdom and their advice. And I would say you could find people to help out that way. I'm just a firm believer in specifically what you do in your industry and what those needs are, and really just trying to cater and build specifically to those.
Okay. Segue. Why do you hate the motivational sales guys on average? Hate's a strong word. Hate's a strong word. Why do you can use it. Why do you dislike the people on?
And look, maybe it's just a sales strategy that I just don't necessarily, personally for me, it doesn't jive with me.
Right.
I'm not a boisterous, punchy in the face. You're gonna have like we're gonna get together and what is it? Wolf on Wall Street.
Yeah, Wolf Wall Street.
Yeah. I mean, that's not me. You know, and also like it's not gonna be a lot of people. And for some people, that works, and it's good, and they're successful. All right.
Right.
But you also can't fit a square peg in a round hole.
Right.
That's not my personality, and that's not the way I conduct business. I can't force it, because then I'm just going to look kind of silly, and I'm not going to do it right, and so on and so forth. Not saying you can't, but from a personal experience, I more had to mold to what my personality was, and how I communicate, and kind of go from there. So it's more just the boisterous people that are just real, that's not necessarily me. And really, I don't know if anybody I'd be selling to in my industry would really respond to that type of sale very, very well either.
Okay. So Jax is anti. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
No, listen, man.
No, I'm kidding.
Look, there's a reason why they're successful.
Right.
I'm not saying that there's. Well, you can't be successful. No, I'm not saying that at all. Those people are making their money. They're hustling. They're doing. But it's just that's not particularly my style in the way that I would want.
So my thing has always been, I'm really looking for specific information. A lot of guys can have a tendency to get into like a lot of the motivational kind of stuff, which I don't need that. Like my ego's like 1,000, so I don't really need that. But sometimes I need specific information to move forward, and so I'm like, okay. Or they may have a story that they told. Okay, I remember specifically going through that specific thing. So now they kind of have my ear a little bit. But then once I kind of go, okay, you're back in the whole rah, sis, boom, bop. Which again, I'm not knocking it, because you're right. Some people need that motivation. A lot of people need that motivation. So I'm not against it. But like you say, there's a self-awareness you got to have when you're trying to figure out, trying to solve problems, get answers. Right. So, okay, all right.
Listen, I'll tell you, I am guilty of there's a couple of Matthew McConaughey and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Some of the motivational stuff. Look, man, all of us need to re-energize sometimes. All of us need to refocus. All of us need a kick in the pants once in a while. And look, in those situations, those are great. Guilty. Listen, I'll turn it on and I'll listen to him. I'll get jacked up before I go, go to a meeting or whatever. I think what we were talking about earlier is just somebody telling you how to do it, and this is the only way that works and stuff like that. But from a motivational standpoint, heck yeah, that works.
Okay, all right. So Jax, as far as let me ask you this. So your sales, you're doing all these things, you're meeting all these people, and you're networking. How important? Now this is kind of a promotional product branding question for me. So how do you use promotional products and or marketing materials in your general sales activities like that?
Right.
Or do you do you do a lot, or how important are they for you?
I think from if you take it back to the first job I was talking about, where you're going into an account every week and you're selling the same people to pick referrals. Marketing material is really important, because I want my name on their desk in front of them every single time. So when they do have a referral that comes up, whether it's a little squeezy stress cowl or a pen or whatever it might be, I want that on their desk, and I want them to have that, and I want them to remember me and associate me with that particular type of business. I've always been a fan of marketing materials that are useful.
Okay.
Something that they're gonna want in front of them. I've seen a lot of companies go out and say, well, we're gonna do like a frisbee, with our logo on it,
Right.
or a toy or something like that. Well, that's great, but they're gonna take it and give it to their kid, or they're gonna go forget about it, or they're gonna it's not gonna be. Its purpose is to be in front of them and see it,
to remind them of you when they see it.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so that's what you want. So yeah, that stuff is important. Lanyards. I love lanyards.
Yeah.
I'll do lanyards. I do pins. The stress ball was really, really big for a long time. And
Right.
But it was something they had on their desk.
They pick it up. They need
and they
something
would
in
pick
their
it
hand.
up, and and whatever. So that stuff's important. Yeah, I think it's something you have to budget for, and you have to have it out. I mean, if you're doing conferences,
Right.
absolutely, you want to have a trinket, a handout, something useful that they can use and want to use, for sure.
You said a key word. I just wrote it down.
Yeah.
How important is budgeting in sales and marketing?
For me, it's big, because I've got to figure out, okay, how much am I spending on going to conferences?
Right.
How much do the conferences cost? How much is the hotel? How much are the flights? How much am I spending on these marketing trinkets that we're talking about? How long will they last me? All of that is important. I mean, at the end of the day, all of us answer to the CEO or the CFO or
Right.
whatever it might be, and they're going to come to us and say, "All right, return on investment.
Right.
What do you need? We're going to give it to you. Now, what can you deliver beyond that?" So budgeting's big. Budgeting's really big. I'm not a real big
Right.
math person or anything else like that. So it's been fun to kind of get to know and understand the different needs that you need to anticipate coming up.
Right. So let me ask you this then. Let me say I'm asking it properly without being too personal in your business.
Okay.
What are the things to think about? Well, how do you go about allocating your budget? And I don't mean specific what things you're using. Like how do you go? Okay, is it a percentage of sales? Is it a percentage of revenue? Like how do you determine how to allocate for a budget? Because I have a lot of clients I meet just from a branding standpoint, or like I meet a lot of new business startup people.
Yeah.
So everybody knows they have to spend money, and let me say that it's not spending money; it's investing in your marketing to get a return. So how do you go about allocating? Now I've worked with small business administration. People, and I have one of the ladies I'm gonna have her come out on the show to talk about allocating budgets and stuff
Great.
like that, and how to get funding for that.
I will watch that.
Okay. So how do you go? So, and one thing she said was, they normally recommend like 8% of your revenue should be allocated toward marketing.
Right.
And so like really big corporations do like 35 to 40% of their marketing, percentage of their revenue towards marketing. I tell people 15 to 20, just kind of a round off number. So I say, if you make $5,000, allocate $1,000. Not saying you're going to spend $1,000 every month, just kind of allocate to the side
Right.
for rainy day. Some months you spend less, sometimes you spend more. So how do you guys go about figuring out how to allocate?
8% is a good number. Typically what I'm doing is I am just trying to figure out what I can do to survive, and and obviously whenever I present my budget and my numbers, I'm going to overshoot that because they're always going to come back and say, no, we're going to drop it down this much, and you're going to have to work within that budget.
Okay.
So I hope my boss isn't watching, but always overshoot on that. I like the 8% number. That's great. But at the end of the day, I just want to make sure I'm getting the things I need to go about and get our word out. One of the challenges that we have, and we kind of alluded to at the very beginning,
Right.
and we're going to kind of jump into marketing a little
Right.
bit here, right?
It's hand in hand, so yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And marketing is just your message, right?
Right.
So I think the most important thing to remember is hang on, just lost focus.
I'm sorry. Just give me that.
So I think from a marketing standpoint though, I think you just need to understand exactly what it is that you need. Like we were talking about in the very beginning, my niche and what I'm selling is kind of newer to the market from the standpoint of if people have always been doing it one way,
Right.
So I'm trying to show them a better way that they may not even be aware of yet.
Be educating them on what can help them.
So how are we going to educate? It's through marketing materials, through handouts, through flyers, through communication, through marketing campaigns, through LinkedIn, through social media. I mean, shoot, we could spend an entire show talking about COVID and how that changed sales.
Right. I definitely want to do that.
Drastically, it is.
We'll come back and do that. We'll come back. Let me know you got time. We'll come back and do that.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. It could take a while. But I mean, so you just got to understand it and roll with the flow of what am I going to need to educate the industry as a whole? And and the one thing I'll just say, I will allude to COVID for one thing, just because it really did. My business is an in-person business, and from a sales standpoint, I want to go and I want to do in-person meetings. I want to go and I want to do conferences. Whether they're national, local, or whatever. That's how I generate leads.
Right.
So you're now taking away my number one way of generating leads. And that's shaking hands at a conference or through word of mouth or whatever. Okay. If that's gone, you kind of look like a deer in a headlights going, well, what now? We completely had to change our strategy. And it went to, and we're still feeling our way through it, if I'm being honest with you.
Because it's like less than 6 months, maybe? Yeah. A little over 6 months since. Yeah.
I mean, this year alone, there are 3 national conferences that we typically do that I would take away maybe 100 leads from.
Wow.
That are non-existent right now. So we had to find different ways from a marketing standpoint of, we can go to social media sites like LinkedIn and maybe make a little bit more of a focus on advertising or marketing through that media. Can we do it through a Facebook? Does that make sense for my industry? You're just going to have to find different venues to get the message out.
Right.
So it's not just what the message is. This year has been a complete revelation of where your message is going to go now.
Right.
And it's been fun. I mean, really, you talk about being competitive and all this stuff. I want to have a leg up before my competitors figure it out. So we need to sit down and we need to brainstorm this and figure it out. So for me personally, you even see through LinkedIn, some of the strategies have changed a little bit there too. It's really become more of a sales thing more than anything else, and that's so now we have to kind of adjust to the saturation of that market.
Oh, dude, it's completely saturated everything now.
Totally. So it's interesting. It's just it's all. And I guess, part of sales too, that's part of it, man. You're going to have to adjust on the fly. If something's not working and it continues to not work, it's not the definition of insanity to keep doing it over and over again and expect a different result.
Right.
Change. Lean on your mentors, lean on other resources, figure out what's working for them. We've collaborated a lot with other people this year, and it's been very beneficial and helpful to us.
Cool. What kind of businesses do you collaborate with at times?
So inside of our industry, there are multiple different types of services that can be offered.
Okay.
From durable medical equipment to actual on-site medical visits, to peer reviews, independent medical examination. I know that doesn't mean anything to you, but it's what I'm just trying to say is these are different products and different companies inside my industry.
Gotcha.
Now, through conferences, through relationships, through previous jobs, you build relationships with people inside those companies, other salespeople, and so yes, you lean on them and say, okay, so what's working for you in the durable medical equipment side of this industry? What are you doing different? What's going on? And then field case management, bill review, all of these things, exhausted. Be persistent.
Right.
Try to figure out what they're all doing, what's working, what's not working. That is how I did it, and you've got plenty of ideas. Some of them aren't going to work for me,
right?
But some of them most certainly will, and it's my job to try to figure out what those strategies are and implement them if they make sense, and if they don't work, move on.
Cool. Jax, how do you motivate people doing? I'm boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, you're good. You're good, man.
How do you motivate sales teams, or how do you motivate just salespeople in general?
Salespeople, I feel like salespeople are generated with money.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, because let's be honest, when you take a sales role, you don't take it for the base salary.
Right.
Okay, you are taking a low base salary because your job is to bring in revenue and then thus receive commissions off that revenue.
Right.
If I have a sales team that I have to motivate personally, that's not a sales team that I want.
Right.
If you can't get up every day and motivate yourself to go sell something, to make money, to survive,
Right.
then that's on you, man. All right. And I'm going to go find somebody else that will. It sounds kind of tough, but it's also kind of the nature of it, you know? So if your pocketbook can't motivate you,
I know, right?
I'm not sure my pep talk or Matthew McConaughey pep talk or anything else is going to work. I don't think it is. And maybe the job's just not right for you if you can't be self-motivating.
Okay. All right. So, Jax, I'm going to ask you this question. So, as you know, the whole show is about, hustle after life, which is hustle hard to live the way you want to, laugh as much as you can, as often as you can, and remember life is short. So, enjoy it while it lasts. So, as with your hustle being sales and sales professions, what keeps you motivated personally? What keeps you going? Like, what's, outside of just the industry itself, like what kind of, and it could be business related, it could be personal. What kind of keeps Jax going?
I want to succeed, TK. I want to succeed. I want to make the Bailey name a good name wherever I put it.
Right.
Okay. And that starts with integrity, and that's part of success also. But my motivation is waking up every day.
I know, right?
And getting to go do, I'm not stuck behind a desk every day.
Right.
I'm not filling out, TPS reports. I'm not. I know, right? You're right. I'm not. And for some people, that's great. Like they're built that way. Like they enjoy that. My personality is not to be stuck behind a desk. I am a very competitive person, so I do want to be better than what George is doing over there, and so on and so forth. So that's my motivation. I want to be successful. I want to represent my company that has invested money in me. I want to make them look good, and I want to be successful. Listen, that's straight up. That is my motivation. I just want to. I want to represent myself well, and I want to be successful, and I want my company to succeed.
All right, Jax, one last question. One last question. You read a lot, audiobooks, regular books?
I read one book that I will recommend, and I can't remember the person that wrote it, but it's a book called Talent is Overrated. Okay. And it really kind of gets into the point of, they talk about Tiger Woods and a few other athletes of, sure, you look at this guy and you say, oh, he's just talented. Yeah. Michael Jordan. Oh, he's just, LeBron. They're just talented people. What you don't see are the 2 million shots they take every day. You don't see the 4 million swings that Tiger Woods took when he started at 9 years old. Right. You don't see the
when he cried in the corner and he motivated himself to go back out there. Yeah.
But society wants to look at what they see on TV and go, oh man, that dude's just talented. Right. That dude's just, and what the book does, it just really shows you how overrated that typical, personality or strategy is. It's not just talent. It's overrated. You got to go out there and you work for everything. You got to hustle. You do.
All right, Jack. So how can people find you in the social atmosphere?
In the social atmosphere. Listen, I'm on LinkedIn, so John Alex Bailey. But also, I would encourage you to go check out, my company's website, which is www.optis, O-P as in Peter, T-I-S as in Stephen.com. You can kind of learn a little bit more about our services and our software and how we help some people out. But that's how you can find me. Listen, I am someone, and this is I'll end on this. I think we're probably trying to wrap up. I'll end on this. As a salesperson too, I will say one of the other really important things is be Switzerland.
Okay, be neutral.
All right, you are in the middle. You don't have many opinions about social matters or things going on because, again, your goal is to sell something and you don't know how they feel. Right. You can listen, but when it comes to offering up opinions on politics, religion, those different things, typically you just really try to be Switzerland in that, and just try to be the guy in the middle. Now, I mean, I'm a person of faith, so I mean, you really want to maintain and talk about that. But I would just say that that's important. You know, when you try to beat your opinions into people, that's a great way to turn people off, especially when they're trying to buy something from you.
Well, that's what's up. Well, there we go. John Alex Bailey, my boy Jax in the building. That's it. Episode number 3 in the books. That's it. Peace.
And you can cut.